Okay. Settle down. Everybody take a seat. The one that we're looking at today, SCP-3024. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. Web Analysis Bot. Tri-Reef. Scans online content for linguistic markers indicative of disbelief in the possibility of acquiring certain information in conjunction with accusations of certain behaviors. Pages flagged by Tri-Reef are to be manually checked for evidence of SCP-3024 involvement. Tri-Reef only requires operation while SCP-3024's location is unknown. If SCP-3024's presence in a community is confirmed, amnestic SCP-14 should be deployed as a method of rendering viewers unaware of or indifferent to the unusual nature of SCP-3024's content. Said content should be removed after SCP-3024 leaves the community or at the discretion of SCP-3024's HMCL supervisor. Description: SCP-3024 is a non-human entity characterized by its anomalous ability to access hidden information and its pattern of engagement in online communities. Attempts to predict SCP-3024's appearances have failed. SCP-3024 will use different demeanors, identities, and speech patterns in different communities, and is thus only identifiable after the use of its anomalous properties. SCP-3024's activities in a community follow a consistent timeline. Stage 0. If the community in question congregates on a website or websites that allows account creation, SCP-3024 will create an account from which all activities will be conducted. Otherwise, SCP-3024 will use an alternative method of self-identification, such as a signature or avatar. If it is common practice for new users to introduce themselves, SCP-3024 will do so immediately thereafter, outlining a fictional identity with which any future posts will remain consistent. Stage 1. SCP-3024 will engage in the community, contributing content and discussion at a rate noticeably higher than most users. SCP-3024 will present as knowledgeable and enthusiastic about any relevant subject matter, highly literate in community-specific terminology, and willing to assist other users. SCP-3024 will release all formal positions of power or authority and will become agitated by suggestions that it occupies an informal position of authority. SCP-3024 will rarely form interpersonal connections. SCP-3024 displays no anomalous properties in this stage, which lasts 3 to 6 months. Stage 2. SCP-3024 will begin to share credible evidence that other users are engaging or have recently engaged in activities considered unsavory by the community at large and the site administration. SCP-3024 is capable of accessing information that should theoretically be inaccessible, such as images and text files hosted on devices of other users, photographs of personal identification, and classified government documentation. SCP-3024 will share evidence of activities that fall into one or more of the following 7 categories: aggressive, deceptive, or coercive sexual conduct, sexual harassment, far-right political activity or beliefs, use of anonymous posting or multiple accounts to promote oneself or manipulate public opinion, dereliction or circumvention of responsibilities established by the community, hostile or aggressive interpersonal activity including stalking and doxing, plagiarism and other deliberate misrepresentations of creatorship, misuse of power, positions of authority, or reputation for personal gain or defamation. SCP-3024's accusations consistently describe misconduct which actually occurred. SCP-3024 will not make accusations of behaviors that the community considers acceptable. As such, this frequently results in the punishment, demotion, or expulsion of the offender. If SCP-3024 is removed from the community before the completion of this timeline, it will create a new identity and return to Stage 0, only spending 2 to 3 weeks in Stage 1. SCP-3024 will refuse to describe the methods by which it acquires evidence, describing them as unimportant. and attempt to focus attention on the evidence's content. SCP-3024 will continue to post incriminating evidence at a rate of once per 10 days for the duration of this stage. Stage 2 is theorized to last as long as SCP-3024 is capable of identifying users engaging in the aforementioned activities, or until such a time as its actions consistently fail to result in substantial community action against the accused. SCP-3024 will not post evidence that identifies any party other than the accused, or that is pornographic in nature. Stage 3. SCP-3024 will cease to engage in the community. Any ongoing projects will either be completed or explicitly abandoned. If SCP-3024 has an avatar or other visual signifier, it will be replaced with a green, violet, and orange representation of a Super Nintendo game controller. If possible, its username or public identity will be altered to Mr. Deadly Sins or some variant thereof. It will occasionally remain in contact with individuals that developed a personal attachment to it for a period of up to 3 months. SCP-3024 apparently remains dormant for a period of 1 to 2 weeks after the conclusion of Stage 3, before moving to a new community and entering Stage 0. Addendum: while SCP-3024 was active in the community under the account name Trouble Greg, a pre-existing account operated by a Foundation staff member was volunteered for the purpose of privately communicating with SCP-3024. Following this communication, SCP-3024 has ignored all communications from Foundation personnel. I will now read an excerpt from the communication between our own Dr. Prasad and SCP-3024. Dr. Prasad speaks first in this communication. Dear Greg, thanks a ton for exposing. I kinda suspected he was up to something for a while, but I never really had the evidence to back it up. Really, this whole crusade of yours has been great, and I was wondering if there's anything I can do to help. Sincerely, SCP-3024 replied with this communication. Dr. Prasad, I'm not quite sure how to respond to this. As you can guess, I know that you work for the SCP Foundation, and that you're using account to get information from me. I also know that you're assigned to research other misters by gamers Aga Inst Weed. I won't disclose any of this information to GAW or anybody else. Your personal connection to the sort of deadly sins I bring to light is too indirect to bring to attention. This isn't to say that I approve of your organization's involvement in my work or the nature of their involvement, just that you personally are shielded from the worst of it. Think about that for a while. I do, however, have a limited interest in sharing information about myself. I won't provide you with any information that would enhance your ability to monitor or disrupt my work, nor will I provide substantial information regarding anyone other than myself. I might withhold information, but I will not lie. Sincerely, Mr. Deadly Sins. Here's the reply from Dr. Prasad. Dear Mr. Deadly Sins, thanks for speaking with me. I'll try to limit my questions to those that won't offend your sensibilities. Number 1, if you know things that you believe should be shared, what's stopping you from sharing them? Number 2, we already know that you're not human, but what are you exactly? Why aren't you human? Number 3, why do you stay in contact with some people after leaving a site? Number 4, how do you feel about your work? Why do you conceptualize it as work? Number 5, you've mentioned a few times that you're uncomfortable being thought of as an authority figure. Why? Number 6, is there any significance to your avatar? Number 7, what is the motivation for your creation and implementation? Sincerely, Dr. Prasad. And here's the reply. Dr. Prasad, number 1, knowledge and the ability to propagate it are inversely related under certain circumstances to which I'm subject. There are certain rules I must adhere to, or else I lose the ability to carry out my work. Number 2, I'm not going to tell you what I am. I'm not a human for the same reason you're not a crocodile. Number 3. I only do that when I would feel guilty about not doing so. Number 4. There's some satisfaction to be gained when a sinner is held accountable, but it's dwarfed by the knowledge that their actions ever occurred. I would prefer to focus on more enjoyable pursuits such as Farmville, but that isn't possible, is it? And I don't intend to stop anytime soon. So that's why I consider it work. Number 5. I would be sorely tempted to misuse such authority. Number 6. It's a clip art of a SNES controller. I was made by gamers against weed. 7. I can't speak to that, but perhaps this document will suffice. http://files/holyheck.rtf. This concludes my interest in conversing with you and all other SCP Foundation personnel. Yours, Mr. Deadly Sins. SCP-3024 did not respond to further communications after this. Addendum. holyheck.rtf, a file sent by SCP-3024 to Dr. Prasad, has been reproduced here. I'll now read it for you. Holy heck, you just found yourself on your very own Mr. Deadly Sins by Gamers Against Weed. I removed the sentence that GAW put here because it was stupid and unimportant. Who hurt you? Find them all and become Mr. Gamer. Number 1, Mr. Literal Serial Killer. Number 2, Mr. Normie. Number 3, Mr. Bernie Sanders. Number 4, Mr. Get Anything for Free in Any Shop. Number 20, Mr. Sex Number. Number 21, Mr. Heavenly Virtues. Number 22, Mr. Deadly Sins. I'd like to note that there was a check mark here when the file was downloaded and read. Number 23, Mr. Original Character. Number 24, Mr. DARE. Number 25, Mrs. Gentrification. Number 26, Mrs. Mad About Video Games. Number 27, Mr. Meme. Number 28, Mr. Ominous, discontinued. Number 29, Mr. Destiny. Number 30, Mr. Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Number 31, Mrs. Zapiasta. Number 32, Mr. Hacks. Number 33, Mr. Just Has the Tattoo. Number 34, Mr. Top Text and Mr. Bottom Text. Number 35, Mr. Finale. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was SCP-3024. You are all dismissed.